All right, hello YouTube. I'm trying my first live stream. I just downloaded this studio software called OBS Studio 26.0.2. You can see it's sharing all my screens here, which is pretty cool. So you're seeing everything that I'm running through right now. I really, in addition to broadcasting and podcasting and everything that I've done as a professional broadcaster, I have a deep passion for daily fantasy sports, and I want to start making videos. I think we put things off, especially when we get older. But I've seen so many things and so many people do things, and I want to share some of my experiences right now. And I want to go over to my week 4 contest that I played on DraftKings. I'm going to bring up, as you can see, FanDuel as well. But I just want to do this, and I'd love to call it Let's Talk DFS. So that's what we're going to do. This is just a trial, a pilot program, as one of my bosses, Dr. Charles Steinberg, likes to call it. This is something that I've wanted to do. I'm a crazy daily fantasy player. I love DraftKings. Here's one little thing that I do every day, too, during the pandemic. As you can see, I've got some bad scores. I got to play the free contest, first of all. You might be crappy in them, but so what? I'm in the NBA DraftKings here tonight, the KFC. I put in a lineup. I took some chances. I threw in Kelly Olynyk in the captain spot. But these are free, and it pays out. So I think that's one thing that we are reluctant to do. Yeah, it's $100 if you get first. Yeah, there's 48,000 people, but you know what? It's free. So do the free contest. And during the pandemic, DraftKings launched these Madden streams that are free. And this is something I do almost every day. Look at, you can see Madden streams. I lost it, of course. Wait. User error. I don't want to play the 26,000, but look at Madden streams. So basically, they simulate a game, and these are showdowns that are streamed, and you can win money. And now you can actually go in and you can play tournaments with this, but start with a free contest. That's my biggest piece of advice to people. Do your research, but I want to go over my lineups because I think that's the thing that we should do more. We need to talk about the guys you played. I think there's so many sites. There's the content out here for daily sports is unbelievable. But a lot of these guys do this too, and I really like it. They show you their lineups, and there's just a few that do it, and I found people, and I'll put some links. But what I do is cash games, which are 50-50s. I did terrible in my cash games this weekend. I did better in tournaments, and I've been better in tournaments because sometimes the tournaments are straightforward. Let's go to I want to show the let's see. I did the Millionaire tournament this weekend for FanDuel, 444. I placed 25,000 out of 692,000, which I get pissed at that because I want to be better. But when you make the difference between making the cash game lineups to me are all about volume and not as much upside. What is the difference for those who are brand new between upside and now I have some upside in it, but floor plays. So this was my cash game lineup this week. How did I arrive at this? Now I almost cashed. This was 75 spots. The Bears game killed me. I was only 7 points out of cashing. And if you look at this is a lineup that cashed. You don't want to do stacks usually. This guy did. I don't do stacks on cash games. But you have to have a theory of why you're playing guys. So Ryan Fitzpatrick, the price, the volume, I knew he was going to throw for 300 yards. Kamara was high priced. Now on a cash game, this was fine. He was 8,000. I did get about 2.5 times value. It would have been nice to get a little more. He killed me on tournaments, but for cash games, you want about 2.5, if not 3 times the salary. You want 4, believe it or not, times, because you're shooting for 200 points in those tournaments. So I knew the Kamara with Thomas out, he was just going to get an insane amount of targets, and he didn't. I mean, it didn't work out, but it's still the 83 rushing yards, 3 receptions. You get a point on DraftKings, so that worked out. Ronald Jones, I figure, was in a smash spot without Fournette at home at a favorite. I try to play home favorites too as well. That's another thing. Now, New Orleans was not at home. You can kind of factor that out a little bit now with the pandemic. Tyler Lockett, volume guy, but, for 7,000 might have been too much. You really needed him to hit, 2.5 for him would have been about 18 points, 6 catches, 60 yards and a touchdown would have done it. Galladay tried to run that back with Kamara. I knew that game would have a lot of points. But targets, I'm going for 8+ targets with receivers. DJ Moore, I think I got talked into that a lot. I really didn't love that play. You see how much he was owned. I did not love it. And he's been inconsistent. He's been up and down with targets. That was a bad play right there. 2 bad plays. Schultz I love because I wanted a piece of the Dallas game, and he gets a lot of red zone targets. The tight ends are tough. Either take one in a high-scoring game or just punt and go low. Henderson, I thought, was at home, big favorite. These 2 plays killed me, but still, maybe I thought the Bears would be better. They weren't. So really, I could have gotten a little bit more. You could see the bottom part, the snowflakes. You hate to see the snowflakes, but I still had 4 snowflakes and almost cashed. It just shows you. Now, some of these winning cash game lineups, these are really good. I mean, this is, again, no stack. Went with Prescott. Makes sense. Usually I don't pay up on quarterbacks, but I think now with cash games, you might have to. Beckham, you probably wanted 2 pieces of that game if you knew it was going to be high scoring. You have to think game theory. If you think Dallas is going to put up a lot of points, Cleveland's going to be catching. I play Beckham in tournaments. He was highly owned a lot higher than I thought. So let's get to my tournament lineups because I really liked my construction, and you have to really I definitely think you have to use your gut for a lot of these. You definitely need to use projections. Matchups are huge. I found that last night with the game, with the Patriots game. That was a 2-game slate. Atlanta can't stop anyone. Really should have played Aaron Rodgers. I played Mahomes. But with an 11-point favorite, you figure that high total in the Atlanta-Green Bay game with a small spread, that's going to go to the home team. Now, this is what I did. This was my best tournament lineup. This is one of my best tournament lineups I've had. I've gotten 220 before. I finished 171 out of 23,781. Look at the winning lineup. I always do this. This was really good. Hit head-to-head here. You could see what you did. I picked the right stack. Sometimes we look at it, he didn't use any cap space either. Sometimes they tell you to keep some. Usually I think by the end of the week, we start looking into percentages, ownership, but you really have to play guys in tournaments. You need upside up the wazoo and price point. So, for instance, there's 2 great examples right here. Ronald Jones at 4,700 is the lead back at home as a favorite. I figured he could easily do 4 or 5 times. That was my theory. You have to have conviction and theory of why you're building this. You can't go, well, I'm going to have Ronald Jones in there because he's supposed to be 5 or 6% owned. No, you can't do that. You've got to put him in there thinking, listen, he's at home. He's the only back. I can see 2 touchdowns. You need really 2 touchdowns from everyone outside your quarterback. You need 3 or 4. Everyone else, you really need 2 touchdowns from, as you'll see. DraftKings a little bit different because with the PPR scoring, as you could see, Mike Davis had 1 rushing touchdown, but he had 5 receptions and 27 yards. So that's 7.7 right there. But this is what my thinking was. I liked Josh Allen this week because he was low owned. I'm giving my stack theory. I liked Lamar Jackson because he was like 3% owned, and I thought Lamar and did I have him in my FanDuel lineup? No, I changed that. I thought Lamar and Mark Andrews definitely. You could get 2 passing touchdowns from Lamar and 2 rushing. But when it was all said and done, I just could not get off Dallas at home being an awful defense inside, thinking, and I immediately thought of Beckham in this game. I'm like, you know what? He's going to go nuts in this game because you have to think this is your conviction when you're making a tournament lineup. I've got Dak Prescott in there. If you're saying you have Dak Prescott in there, he's going to go off. And more than likely, in most of these games, if you watch, when a team goes off like that, now in this situation, it was Cleveland leading. But even if this was reversed, the team's going to get a lot of garbage. And I just figured that this was such a high total. I had to play Prescott. I had to play Cooper. His red zone usage is insane. And where else did I go here? I went with just 3. I thought about 4. And look at this. I got a goose egg in this lineup. Still went 199. I thought about putting CeeDee Lamb or Gallup in. I should have, because I really thought Prescott had a chance to throw 3 or 4 touchdowns. The odds are that 2 were going to go to Cooper and 2 to Schultz. Anything can happen, but you have to figure that CeeDee Lamb in the slot, that was a really good play. It was not played here in this winning lineup, but I debated that because I don't like to go more than 2 pass catchers, but I think in this situation it would have been okay to do that. And I played Cooks. I think I got sucked into that, which again, I want to talk about. Don't get sucked into plays. If you hear DFS experts tell you this guy, then he's going to break out because he's running. If you don't like the guy, don't play him. And I don't like Brandon Cooks. I don't think Brandon Cooks is a good receiver, to be honest. He's just a guy that flies down the field. I don't think he has good hand skills. I mean, he's been traded numerous times for that reason, and I shouldn't have played him, and that's my own fault. But I liked what I had, and I built the stack first. Prescott, Cooper, Schultz. You have to run it back with somebody. And Beckham. I thought Kamara, if he smashes, having no Thomas. Now you could look at it another way. Having no Thomas, they could have bottled him up more. But I just thought against Detroit that he could easily score 3 touchdowns. And if I don't have that 3-touchdown guy, I'm not going to win the tournament. And I was right, but I didn't have the right guy. Mixon, home favorite, low owned, 5,800. That's a smart play there. That was an obvious play, but it wasn't an obvious play in a lot of the DFS community. People talking about the hot starts in tournaments. Not many suggestions had Mixon, but if you go to some basic rules, running backs, home favorites, good price. I mean, you look at Ronald Jones and Mixon and Mike Davis, all home. Now, Carolina wasn't a favorite, but they won. So if you thought Carolina was going to win, you had a chance. And look at, he had Jones. You had 3 running backs in the winning lineup at home, good spots. 2 of the 3 were favorites to win. And maybe you could even argue that Carolina could have been a favorite in that game. It was at home. But Mixon upside, that was a great play. Did Mixon have as much upside as Kamara? Yeah, absolutely. And for $2,200, it made sense to go down to that, which he did. I'll be honest, I really didn't think about playing him, and I wish I did. Mike Evans, I didn't see that, but there's a rule. When Godwin's out, Evans gets more targets. So you think this is going to be a 10 to 12 to 15 target game. If he gets 8 catches out of the 15 for 80 yards even, it's priced at 6,400. 8 and 80 is 16 plus a touchdown, 22, 6.4. That's almost 4 times value. And he did one better. He hit 100. That's not really a hard day for Mike Evans at that price. That's what you have to look at. So the 2 great plays, I mean, I really thought I had some good plays in here that were under the radar. But Mixon and Evans were huge. As you can see, we had, and I went with the double tight end. Waller scores a touchdown. I'm up at 207. I thought he had a chance to score 2 touchdowns. He was low owned. And, sometimes a tight end and a flex, you got to look at the price. 5,200 for basically a wide receiver. That's what that is. Could he have hit 4 times? Yeah. If he scores a touchdown, hits 100 yards, 9 receptions, 100 yards. That's 25, 28 points. That's almost 6 times the value. I thought the Bucks D would be a little better. So, I'm pretty happy with that lineup. I'm getting better. I've had 4 straight weeks where I've not had great weeks. I cashed last week for the first time all year. Tournament lineups are good. You have to have a game theory when setting. That's my advice. You have to, and you do have to go with your gut and you have to like plays. I look at projections. I go to FF, this one, FF Today. I love their rankings. I love these projections. Go to PPR for DraftKings, and look at for week 4. Remember, you get a 300-yard passing, you get a bonus. I looked at 2 guys, Russell Wilson and Prescott. Picked those guys as my stacks. It's interesting to go back and look where they had guys. Dalvin Cook could play. Another one, Mike Davis. They had it 5th. Mixon. Where did they have Mixon? They're way down here. So, but again, that's not set in stone. I like NFL Savant for targets. You want target shares. You want red zone targets. These are red zone targets. Red zone rushing attempts. So what I did this week for the Cowboys was I basically saw Schultz was leading the club in red zone targets, and I wanted him and Amari. I thought about doing Dak, Elliott, Cooper, Schultz stack as well. So FanDuel, where you don't get the 300 bonus, you don't get 100 yards bonuses. Millionaire lineup was, I was still pretty far off. But look I had the same kind of thought process. Prescott, Cooper, Beckham. He went with Lamb. I went with Gallup. They killed me. If Gallup has that game and Lamb has that, things change a little bit. I feel like on FanDuel for some of the winning lineups, and I would advise you. By the way, this guy, not Mike Stauffer, does the NBA ratings on 2K, the player ratings. By the way, he won $1 million. Probably already makes pretty good money, but good for him on that. So I've noticed on FanDuel with running backs, you have to get these spots. Guys that don't cost a lot, that are in smash spots. Cook is expensive, but, I just whiffed on Kamara. Jacobs, I kind of played this game because he was low owned, and I shouldn't have done that because I didn't know if he had the chance. Dalvin Cook is a machine, 25% owned. It didn't matter. I knew Mark Andrews. I played him in another tournament. He was in a smash spot against Washington. Also look at rankings against. I go to Football Reference here, Pro Football Reference. I love this. Fantasy points against. Look at this. They do it fantasy per game, and they have DraftKings and Fanduel. So go to tight ends. This is huge because when you go into this and you look at if a number is glaring to me, I will gravitate to a player. So tight ends sort by fantasy points. Washington was right there. 5th allowed in fantasy points. Atlanta was 1. Look what happened last night. Now that's including last night, but 7 touchdowns. But I'd use those things. I look at red zone targets, but fantasy points against. Some matchups are huge. If people are playing Atlanta and Dallas, you got to play those players against them. Play Daniel Jones this week against Dallas. They're at home. I know Daniel Jones has been garbage, but he still could put up 280, a couple touchdowns. Dallas can't stop anyone on the ground. You got to use real football too, real what's going on. Look at this. Hawkinson, I whiffed on that. I whiffed on a lot. The top 5 were good. This was a millionaire lineup with almost 700,000 entries. I had 4 whiffs and still cashed $9. I got 5 of 9 right. I get 7 of 9 right. Maybe I'm in this range. Maybe I'm 50, 60 points higher, taking home 1750. So keep grinding at it. I always make a first look lineup, go into lobby, and for week 5, just find a. Actually, I already made a lineup, so I'll bring up what I did. I always make a first look lineup, change it a million times, but I have theory behind it when I make it. This is my cash game lineup for week 5. Teddy Bridgewater, Price at Atlanta, a lot of points. He's going to be throwing a lot. Elliott's at home against the Giants. I like Houston this week. Jacksonville has struggled to stop people. David Johnson's usage is pretty good. He just needs a touchdown, but at 5,200, I need 2.5 points. All right, so you need 5,200 times 2.5. So you need 13 points for cash game. Cash games you want, a salary of 60,000. 2.5 gets you 150. You get 150, you're cashing every week. But I feel like Johnson at that price at home against a team that's really can't stop anybody after firing the coach. I like it, but he's going to get passing game usage. He's going to run the ball. I like 18 to 20 touches for my running backs. He doesn't always, if you look at that, 14, 13, 15, 18, but I like 18 to 20 again. I like the price. I like Chark on the other end in this game. I'm debating that. Tyler Boyd at Baltimore, I know that sounds weird, but I figure they're going to be losing. They're going to throw the ball a lot. Demir Bird, I know. Believe it or not. But it's trying to stuff some running backs in. I like Hilaire at home. I think the Chiefs win this game easily. What's the low? 16 is the low in touches, but he's getting, 18 to 20 a game. He scores a touchdown to me. I like the running backs here. I feel I can get that 2.5 times. And again, Jonas Smith targets 8, 5, 7. Pretty good for tight end. Might go lower than that. Some of these are I'm indecisive a little bit on Chark, Boyd, kind of this middle here. Kind of like my running backs, quarterback, and I like the Chiefs defense. Cash games are weird. Sometimes the theory is just to pay all the way down and say screw it, but if you get a 1 or 2, it stinks. But then you can get a 1 or 2 from this game because they could be up a lot, and then let them back in. So that's just some of my stuff. Let's talk DFS. I want to do this for a while now, and I hope you enjoyed watching.